Good morning, friends. So I had been meaning to talk about DuoLingo Arabic and maybe some of the flashcards and textbooks that I've picked up over the past 9 months or so since I started trying to learn Arabic. So the major things that I have been using have been the Teach Yourself book, Arabic for Beginners, along with a lot of resources on YouTube and watching the news on Al Jazeera. I've been watching cartoons. I was watching some Libyan cartoons last night. Anyway, so the first obstacle you would have to deal with is, of course, learning the alphabet, or you'll never be able to read anything. And I think DuoLingo was pretty good with that. I've also used it like to brush up on the Greek alphabet, and I think the repetition and the way it's presented is like pretty decent for that. I wouldn't use it as your only resource, and having watched a lot of DuoLingo reviews, for various languages, I would say that even on the website, I think it says don't use this as your only source of input, and I think a lot of people make that mistake and don't end up learning the grammar and things like that, because it's not really presented on DuoLingo. It's more, you learn some phrases and some ways of doing things like telling time, partially use that for numbers, but you really need like a textbook or a grammar book or something like that to teach you explanations of the grammar. And I know there's also a lot of disagreements when it comes to comprehensible input and the grammar translation method, and I think Language Jones on his channel has mentioned things like perhaps people with autism might do better with the grammar translation method, and ADHD people, as examples, might do better like totally using comprehensible input. But I think a lot of people probably benefit from a mixture of the two as needed. Like if you're really not getting a grammar concept from just hearing it and seeing examples, it is a good thing to look up, what is this? What is going on with this irregular verb, or what is the idiomatic way of saying a certain thing? The alphabet part, you just do like you practice the alphabet, and it has you trace the letter using your mouse or finger. I don't know, I haven't used it on a cell phone, but PC version, you trace it with your mouse, and then it tells you what sound the letter makes. You hear it, you see it, and you see the different ways the letter is written and how it connects to others. Some things, have a different version, have a different form, whether it's alone, whether it's in the middle of a word, at the beginning or at the end of a word, and that takes some getting used to and just seeing it. And I liked the way it had animations. It starts off, just with letters and with syllables, and it shows you how, 2 or 3 letters would connect to each other in an animation, which is kind of useful, even though it's hard to follow at first.
مكور.
So it's also good to have like a chart in a textbook or something you can look at. Also, just for the practice of reading anything from right to left rather than left to right. But anyway, the alphabet is probably going to be a huge obstacle for a lot of people, and that's going to put a lot of people off. And it's also why, in my estimation, it would be on those charts for, which is the hardest language for English speakers. And I think, part of it is the grammar, a lot of grammar things being different. Some of it is the sounds, some of the sounds that don't exist in a lot of European languages, or even African or Asian languages. That would be another thing, but the alphabet being a big hurdle in the beginning. So the repetition and animations with the audio help with that, just getting it in your head. Like another big thing is like sounds that are differentiated in Arabic but are not differentiated in English. English has words like the and thing and thistle, and they sort of have a different TH sound, but we don't really even notice that it's a different sound, that one is voiced and one is not. If you hear these different sounds next to each other and different example words, a lot of times that's going to be useful. And the emphatics, that's another big obstacle. And Duolingo does not explain what's going on there, like where in your mouth to pronounce them. So I would say there's channels like Learning Arabic with Maha, and she, will do one sound, like a video just about one specific letter, like Ghain. There is just no way you're going to learn that from Duolingo, like where in your throat to pronounce it, or how to pronounce the emphatics at all. So that would be a downside of Duolingo, but again, even Duolingo is saying have other resources.
أحب هذه الصورة.
And there are guides before each section, but even these don't contain all the words and concepts that are being introduced in this section, so I don't know if it's different if you use the paid version, which I have not. So I'm only talking about the free version here. But it also makes it hard, like if you want to go back to the guide and look up a certain vocabulary word and it's not there at all, and that can be upsetting. And I think also Duolingo tells you, have a notebook with you. You have a pen and paper and write down the new vocabulary words, which are in orange or something. Write those down as you encounter them, which also makes it, it gives you more practice with them, and it makes them easier to review them. And another common complaint is a lack of grammar explanations at all. Like if I hadn't encountered explanations of what's going on with the ta marbuta and other resources, I would have no idea. Like the word zoja, wife, if you change it to my wife, it becomes zojati, and where the heck is the T coming from? And there's no explanation of that, or why this T sound has magically appeared. And also things like colors can have, you just have to memorize those because they have very different masculine and feminine forms. Whereas, a lot of other things like mutarjim and mutarjima, as translator, you just sort of add the ta marbuta after the end of it. Zoj and zoja, husband and wife, you just add the A sound. And I think Steve Kaufman's, Lingo Steve's review of Duolingo, he also talks about how the progress is very slow. You don't really have control over what you want to learn. You can skip sections or go to something else, but it sort of builds on what came before. So I think Steve Kaufman also said in his video, can you become fluent in the language on Duolingo? And the answer is no, probably not. People have different definitions for what fluent means in the first place, but as a good thing, it helps you to maintain some contact with the language. Like even if you're not at home or something, you can get your phone out and mess with that for a few minutes, and that's better than going for days or months without doing anything at all. You can just do it a little bit here and there if that's all you have time for. So yeah, a big complaint many people have in their review videos of Duolingo is that you can't become fluent in the language using it, and that it doesn't have grammar explanations. And I'm pretty sure even Duolingo says that's not what it's for, so I don't know if it's even a valid criticism. The gamification of learning can be motivating for some. The sound effects when you get something right or wrong. So if you do want to use it, I just recommend writing things down and getting some other sources. Also, they try to show things like syntax rather than teaching them. And I understand what they're doing there, but again, I think many people would benefit from at least having access to this being explained if they want it. Like a lot of things with definite and indefinite nouns, I think you need more explanation for. They just sort of throw the possessive suffixes out at you with no explanation and expect you to, figure that out. And I wasn't really happy about that. So I think it can be helpful with learning the alphabet, learning, having some help with distinguishing certain sounds you otherwise might not distinguish in a language like English, and the gamification and motivation and the horrible emails you get if you don't use it for a couple days. I've seen those talked about as good or bad, but I think it's a useful resource to have out there and to use it as a supplement rather than, a primary source of learning anything. except maybe the alphabet. But again, I got some posters in these alphabet flashcards. I got these like 9 months ago. Like it has an aleph on it, and then it has a sod and a little picture of lion, and also how you spell the letter, beginning, middle, and end, forms, and the standalone form. Also have posters of this, of the alphabet and the numbers. Numbers aren't on this. I got some other like phrase, conversational phrases, flashcards that have some basic things like how to say your name and how old you are. This has a lot of, those are the numbers ones. This one has numbers. You can see it. 20. That goes up to 1,000, it looks like. And then there are feelings. And also on the, I like how on the back of this one it will say hot with English pronunciation as well. And it says har, as well as having them in having the word hot, the word har in an English sentence and in an Arabic sentence. And other than that, just watching educational videos, language learning videos, the news, and cartoons. I remember, seeing like Ollie Richards and Luke Ranieri on their channels talking about watching TV shows like Star Trek or Friends. I think Luke was saying he was watching the Italian dubbed version of Star Trek, and that was useful. And I guess a lot of people have watched Friends and dubbed in various languages. So anyway, I prefer just to get on YouTube and search for something. It helps to use things like the Lexia Logos input website thing, and then you can put that in the search box rather than typing in English, whatever the name of what you're looking for is in Arabic. Though I did also get keyboard stickers, but that's another way, to do input. But yes, thanks for watching, and I'll put some links to some of these things in the description. And later, friends.
0 1 2 3